No.
Okay. Mrs. Taylor, I want to refer you to the school district policies that are related to your concern over questionable teaching materials. Policy IMB.
Did we receive those? I've never seen that.
There is a series of emails back and forth with your comments in it. This is...
Okay, well would you continue to tell us what you wanted to say in that, if you would, please?
Could you?
Okay, so it says the policies are in here. This is the policy right here, and it's exactly what we followed. And I know that you came to a curriculum review committee meeting, right? I am sure we have minutes of these meetings. I am sure Dr. McGee explained that if you did not like the findings of the report, we are very process-oriented. We make sure that we follow every step. And I have emails from Superintendent Mays, who notified you of the meeting date and attached the memo of his findings along with the policy. So really, we are at the end of this review period. As far as I'm concerned, Don, we're at the ultimate part of this asking review of the book, which is if the resident is dissatisfied with the decision of the Instructional Book Materials Review Committee, the next step is to submit the request to the superintendent of schools.
Right, so that's all I'm...
has a right to appeal the decision of the superintendent of schools to the school board.
What Chair Wolf, I can speak for my wife and I. If we're still within the statute of limitations, we're certainly willing to fill that paperwork out and have that to you tomorrow.
This is what we're doing tonight. We are just doing step 5 of KEC. We are here for your appeal. That's what this is.
Oh, okay. And I would like to say, in a general note, we're not. I don't believe we've accused anyone here of not following some protocol. What we're saying is, in essence, we're saying in amazement. Okay, this is as though we've had a fire in the kitchen and we're having to have a committee to decide how to put it out. It's going to take 3 months to put out the fire. That's what we're saying. We're not accusing you of doing anything else in terms of violating our rights in regarding to that. No, that's not our point.
You guys aren't on trial. The book is on trial here.
Can I make one point?
Yes.
Being on the curriculum committee, it's my understanding from the letter that Superintendent Mays sent out that there was going to be still another response from the review committee to the curriculum committee before the semester begins. Is that not what's going to happen?
I had gone to the high school staff and I directed them to review really the curriculum of personal finance and to try to find, in my opinion, reaffirm what was being covered, find an appropriate balance for the various topics. I thought that possibly if someone was spending 2 months on this particular topic, it might be too much to document all of the resources that could be used and was being used in a particular written document, to consider an alternative to nickel and dimed and present that back to the Bedford Curriculum Committee prior to the start of the second semester.
So
that's what I asked them to do, and they're in the process of doing that.
Right. So then to carry that to its logical conclusion, we would assume that in the first meeting in January, when we meet the first Tuesday of January, that we would expect to hear something back in response to your request. At that point in time, we would know, A, whether or not the book had taken a different course, right? I mean, it's kind of open still, so I don't know that we're at the close-down stage, are we? From step 5 of the process?
From a process perspective, that's where I believe we are, right?
Yeah.
The review committee has given their findings. Now, the superintendent has asked the dean of humanities or the dean of that particular department to go back and look at those materials for appropriateness. And I guess we're pending a report on that, probably to Thomas's point, in the January timeframe, when we have something to discuss.
That's my intention, and that's what I believe the high school staff is doing.
Just point of clarification, it's second Tuesday, just in case people want to be there.
Thank you. So just to be clear, you think we're at the point for in the review process where we've now gone to the superintendent and we've now asked you to step into the middle of it? Is that where we are in the process? Just to be clear,
Shortcomings of this book, in my view, at least at tonight's meeting, the dean and her staff is looking at the book. They're going to come back with a recommendation. They're going to go through a thoughtful process, independent or not of the citizen complaint. And I think at that particular time we opine on whether that's the right recommendation.
I would ask that you let the process continue.
I'm sorry. You know how I like love to talk at these things. I don't, but I think that is that's my whole point here. Is there's a process, there's a procedure to be followed, and all I'm asking is we follow the process. I appreciate the fact that you've asked to be on the agenda, and you're well within your right to give us your opinions and thoughts. But I'm going to be a stickler on following the policy. We've got a policy that we've approved as a district and as a board, and I think we ought to follow it.
Okay, so I want to clarify here because this is pretty awful. I'm confused. So we're saying on policy KEC, we're in the middle of E and F. Instead of, I thought we were at number 5.
Can you clarify? I don't know what E&F is.
Could you pull out the policy?
I can't. I mean, I don't know that anybody out here does either.
No,
so.
I understand, but this is
Right.
because
Do you have it anywhere?
how we proceed does depend on where we are. Here.
In my mind, G is done. We're waiting for the resident to respond to 4.
Wait here. If you guys can't even agree where we are, how are we supposed to know where you were? That's my biggest thing. This is a mess. I mean, you can't even agree where you are on the policy. How are we supposed to understand the policy?
I happen to disagree.
You know what?
with
I
that.
thought we were moving the process forward on your behalf. I thought that we were being a considerate board and we were actually listening to the concerns of a citizen. Would you like me to read the email to you dated on Wednesday, September 29th, where Mr. Mays very clearly talks about the process, and then he does it again on November 19th, where he very clearly talks about the process.
Chair Wolf, are you chiding us for not understanding our appeal rights? If you are, we're certainly willing to apologize if that would help. But the bottom line is, as a reasonable resident, I thought, okay, we went to the board, and I thought the next step, honestly, was to go to the school board. If we misunderstood it, we apologize.
Thank you very much. No, I thought that you had said that you didn't receive the information earlier and that you didn't understand the process. So I was trying to say there are emails documenting very clearly what the process is, and it's been repeated multiple times.
Are we going to have that review finished before the book is used again?
Yes.
All right. I'm with Don that it makes more sense to let that process finish. I also think, without unnecessarily telegraphing the board's position on this matter, I think we're trying to balance two things. Two important values. I think this book is not a good book for us to be using in a personal finance course. I did a very unscientific survey of the people in my family who've taken this course, and the one-word response I got was worthless, or may have been useless. I think that the Taylors have been mild in their criticism of the book. I think if we were to go through the book in greater detail, that they've only identified sort of the 3 more egregious failings in the book. I think there are several others we could spend some time discussing, and I'm not sure that's particularly productive. I believe that there will be other books that the faculty and administration will choose. And I think if they don't, then we'll have a more robust discussion here at a later time. But I do think we have to, when this is all over, we have to sort of sit down and think about sort of how do we want these processes to be dealt with in the future. Are there changes to the policy that we ought to consider? We've got, the new internet era. There's plenty of resources out in our community. The Taylors say they can't read every book, and that's true. But maybe as a community, even without having a formal process where we identify, parents to be on a committee, I think it might not be a bad idea for us to not only, but to broadly post all of the books in the syllabus so that everybody can see it in the community. And I'd like to know if there's, what are the next 5 sort of least appropriate books in our system? Not because we want to censor them, because I think this might be a good book on the political science class, and so I am not in favor of yanking a book, and I also don't want to say anything about the book that'll boost its sales. I think the book is a shallow book, and I think the author, I won't go any further than that. I think there are some significant failings in the book, and I think we ought to, if we can't address that, I think it's frustrating the process that we can't address it more quickly. But if that's the case, and I think it is important because we do have to, we have to be careful